This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com.
So let's talk about the match here briefly, or at least the fallout. In case you're wondering, we have covered Starrcade 1990, Flair versus Sting as the Black Scorpion versus Sting. That was Grilling JR number 89 from December 24th, 2020. Go check that out in the archives. But I do want to mention that this is interesting because, well, here's what Meltzer says. Probably around late November, with the house show situation reaching a new low, the decision was made to go back to Flair. Originally, the change was to occur at Starrcade, with Flair wrestling as the Black Scorpion and winning the title. But Sting didn't want to put Flair over in that scenario. Sting refused since he wanted to finish the Scorpion scenario with a victory in the blow-off. As it became obvious the company insisted on the change, Sting agreed to do it on January 11th at the Meadowlands. Since he did, Flair agreed to put Sting over as the Scorpion for Starrcade. So it's a little thing, but in hindsight, would that have been better to give the Black Scorpion a run if it really was going to be Sting and try to find a creative way to finish it off? Or is it better just, man, let's just shoot this angle in the head and move on?
Yeah, the latter, definitively. Yeah. Let's get out of this shit. We got a chance to divest ourselves of this incredible storyline, and it's not working to any large degree considering the TV time it's getting. It's not the best thing for our future, the future of the business there in Sting. So if we can get out of this shit, let's do it. Let's, the old fish or cut bait thing, you know about that. You can fish or cut bait. Well, we need to cut bait. Time to go. And that's what we did. And he also made Flair happy. That was important. Because he got something back on the trade. He won a debate. He won a little argument. And for guys like him that are used to steering their own boat, by and large, that meant a lot. So, one of the old philosophies in pro wrestling is that whatever you do, get your main event in the ring. And I've been involved in some situations like that. The Jarrett China thing was kind of that way. You acquiesce to the guy to get the match in the ring. Then you figure out how quick you can say adios. So that's kind of where we were with that.
Well, let's talk about the match here. Meltzer would say Flair pinned Sting in 20 minutes and 38 seconds to regain the WCW title. Crowd was split 50-50 in the first 8 minutes. Sting got the larger pop coming out, although Flair was obviously very much respected. When Flair and Sting did their yells, a spot designed to put over Sting, Flair got a bigger reaction for his. Sting got every bit of big as an initial reaction, but suddenly a lot of boos. Sting wasn't really into this match, which held it back, but it was still better than anything else on the card. The match was nowhere close to the same match these two had in the same building in August, however. The crowd became more and more pro-Flair as the match went on. He's basically doing his normal routine with the pacing being slow and all action with no rest spots, and the crowd's totally into it. The finish saw Sting come off the top rope and hit Flair and the referee. So now Sting has Flair pinned, but there's no ref. So Sting puts Flair in a small package, but again, there's no referee. When the ref finally recovers, Flair hits a shoulder block and fell on Sting for the pin. And at the count of 2, Sting got his foot on the ropes, but Flair scooped it off before the referee saw it. 3.5 stars. Ric Flair is your world champion. And it happened January, Meadowlands, 1991, in the middle of a freaking blizzard. Do you remember this?
Yeah, it's chilly. I'm glad I took my coat. Yeah, I remember. It's just Conrad. We had gone, our group, and it was almost like a group of individuals, which is what it was technically. But that group of people that were on the booking committee went through hell. Poor you guys. You're making a good living. You're okay. I get all that shit, but still, you got to live that life, and you got to go home with it. And I was divorced at that time, and I hadn't married Jan yet. I met her there. Met her through WCW, ironically. on a flight. She was a flight attendant. But man, it was just a miserable place to work at that time. And man, Conrad, I love pro wrestling. I love it today. I'll love it more tomorrow. I try to demonstrate that on Wednesday nights. This old bastard still loves what he does. And, but boy, there were times when if I had a better offer, if McMahon would have called me up, I'd have figured a way to get out of my contract and go to work for them. That's how badly it was. And it was that way every frigging day, And a lot of people don't understand that. The sizzle and the dirt, my God, my boy, all that stuff. It was just the worst time. That year, 1990, was probably one of the worst years I've had in the business since I got in it in 74. Hey, folks, it's time to take your podcast game to the next level. And you certainly want to get your almighty push. My God, we have to have a push, right? We'll get that over to adfreeshows.com. Now, I'm telling you, if you're a fan of Grilling JR, adfreeshows.com has the entire episode library, and it's got no ads, 0 ads, zilch, none. Ad-free and on video starting at just $9. Did you hear what I said? $9. You spend more than that at Starbucks, for God's sakes. 2 mornings. But that's not all, folks. We got tons of bonus content, including my after-hours roundtable, where drinking was involved with Eric and Tony. You simply will not find a better value in all of wrestling. Hey, look, don't make me go red ass, because by God, you know I will. Hurry over to adfreeshows.com right now and sign up. And I thank you.
Well, it was a big year for Sting because he finally wins the world title, but Meltzer summed it up like this. Realistically, Sting never had a chance. The fact that his return from knee surgery to win the title, a result that was hardly wrestling's best kept secret, failed to sell out Baltimore, was an unheeded warning sign. Getting a huge pop and drawing huge houses aren't the same thing. Still, Sting had to win the title on July 8th. The match was the largest grossing NWA event since Flair and Funk sold out Baltimore a year earlier for Flair's comeback, with a less legitimate injury, but the same story. Although pay-per-view figures are often unreliable, it appears the Flair-Sting match did the most money on a pay-per-view of any NWA show. While an argument can be made that Luger and not Sting should have been given the title, to do so would have eliminated the biggest house of the year, the best pay-per-view in company history, and what should have been 2 solid months or so of solid house show gates for rematches, at least in theory. But to base the entire future on the company on someone who was untested in the position of champion with the idea that there was no looking back was foolish. The decibel level of Sting's entrances and the results of a demographic survey done by people who don't know or understand the first thing about what draws money in wrestling did not mean Sting was going to be the 1990s answer to Hulk Hogan. The answer was Sting deserved a chance. But in the meantime, if for some reason it didn't work out, there was always Ric Flair.
Right.
What say you? Is Sting's first title run categorized as a disappointment in your mind? And if so, what could have been changed to make it more successful?
Well, I agree. Yes is my answer. It was not handled well. Secondly, you'd love to be able to omit the untimely patella injury.
Oh, yeah.
That's the kneecap. If you could eliminate that, that would have solved a lot of issues. The fact that we didn't have any, it seemed to be a lack of commitment to Sting because of the lack of commitment to build heels, a heel factory for him to work with. And most bookers I ever worked with would have gotten some of their best workers together and say, "Here, I want to have you, you're going to have a run with Sting. It's going to be for the title. You should make a little money, blah, blah, blah." And we didn't have that. So we didn't have that table set. We weren't ready for him to be the champion. And again, we sure as shit weren't ready for the patella injury that set him on the shelf and slowed everything down. So it was frustrating and unsuccessful based on expectations for Sting because the sky was the limit for him.
Well, we got a lot of questions here for the show. I don't know that we'll get to them all. Let's do one here. Andrew wants to know, did Sting have input from the WCW booking committee, or did he ever discuss what opponents he would have liked to work with?
He had input. Yeah, he had input. I don't know how often it was taken, but he certainly had input, Conrad, without a doubt. He's been there a few years, and he was kind of tenured. And he knew that the company had high expectations for him. So he parlayed that influence to his betterment, which is smart.
Thomas wants to know, hi, Uncle Jim, belated birthday wishes. Sting is an icon, but back in 1991, what holes did he have in his game, if any?
Well, I think his promo ability was something he had to work on and become a better communicator. And he did. You know, he especially it's like today, you know, he's got great timing, but he hadn't found that timing yet in his promos. So I'd say his promos were the most lacking element of his game.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.